bet.
We're seeing a new trend of parents enrolling their kids in alternatives to public schools, which includes classical education. New op-ed reading, quote, "Today, the signs of American decline are all around us. A failing economy, rampant lawlessness, the degradation of education and public virtue. But we should not accept collapse as an inevitability. Classical education gives us the chance to rekindle the flame of the West before it goes out."
Dr. Kevin Roberts co-wrote that op-ed and is president of the Heritage Foundation, and he joins us now. Dr. Roberts, good morning to you. Loved the op-ed, and on the heels of the last segment where we talked about equitable education, we are all ears. I don't think a lot of people really have a good understanding, though, of what classical education is. And you say that it's the best chance for the future for our children. So let's start with an education on it. How would you define it?
Well, I would define it as the education that our founders of this country got, the education that almost every American, Carly, got up until the last 25 or 30 years when the radical left took over education. But at its core is reading, coming to know the great books, the great works of Western civilization. It really is the foundation of how to think, but most importantly, it really inspires us to know what is true, what is good, what is beautiful. It is for everybody. This is not something just for the elites. In fact, living at a time when the elites probably need to be pushed out of power, classical education is one of the answers to that.
Okay, specifically, what is it, though, about those things that you just mentioned that will stave off the American decline? Is it sort of this sense of togetherness, being one, sort of understanding your common civic purpose? What is it, Doctor?
Todd, the most important thing about classical education is that it outright rejects the conveyor belt education of government-run schools at this point. And so what classical education does is put every child in the same boat in the sense of reading all of the same books, having a conversation about what it is to be human, what it is to know truth, what it is to be an American. And as a result, we see that people in government-run schools is declining significantly over the last few years. 13% of American kids now in a non-government-run school, and a growing proportion of those are in classical schools. Parents, in other words, are saying, Todd, that they're tired of this nonsense, like the rejection of what Harrison Butker said in terms of common sense. We're losing the social fabric in this country, and classical education is the greatest methodology in the classroom for getting us back to being able to talk to one another as Americans, in spite of whatever differences we may have.
Yeah, and you talk about how many schools today are teaching young people that our country is fundamentally racist and evil. And it isn't just the schools, Dr. Roberts. It's also President Biden at his commencement address at Morehouse College, where he said that black men have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And Republicans don't see black men in the future of America. What do you think about that message coming from the President of the United States?
Well, he's the divider in chief. And just to connect that to classical education, I'll tell you a real quick story. The classical school that I started 20 years ago had many students of color. In fact, I remember one African-American mom coming up to me after school one day, and she said, Dr. Roberts, she had tears in her eyes. She said, Dr. Roberts, I have to tell you something. And I thought, you had done something wrong. She said, no. She said, you've changed the lives. This classical school has changed the life of my son, but you've also changed my life and the life of all of our people in our family, because you teach us to love one another and to love this country, to which we can never give back what it gives us every day. That's the kind of message we need to be delivering in every school. And dare I say, President Joe Biden ought to go spend some time at a classical school rather than talking about that divisiveness he did at Morehouse.
It's all about rowing in the same direction, and Dr. Kevin Roberts is steering that ship. Dr. Roberts, thank you.